Hi, this is stream number 68 for me, and today I'm going to work on signing AWS API requests. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, and if you haven't looked into their RESTful APIs, they require, for most things, I think, or if not all, that you sign all your requests in order for, or two things basically, to authenticate and to authorize. So to declare who you are and basically prove who you are, and that's used to see if you have authorization to do what you're asking for. So in this URL here, links to this page. On all my streams, I like to have a plan before I start, and you can get to my notebook, including this page and others. And I have links here to the information that we're going to need. For example, the whole signing process. So we'll pull that out, move it to another window, and pull it over here. Let's go over it a little bit. So there are basically 4 steps. RESTful APIs are all web requests, and they look kind of like in their test suite, something like that. So they break it down into 4 steps, right? You have to create a canonical request. So, for example, the canonical form of this, according to Amazon, looks like this. Don't ask me why, but I think it's to disambiguate order and stuff like that. Task 2 is to create a signing key, basically, a string to sign. Oh, no, sorry. I think I'm mixing up task 2 and 3. Hey there, Rally Monkey. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that. Right, there's a you don't actually do the signing. You create something to sign in step 2, and then 3 you actually create the signature, and then 4 you append the signature, and then you send the request, and then hopefully Amazon says, yeah, that matches, we can let you do that. So right here's the original request, here's the canonical form, and then I believe this is the next step, creating the string to sign. No, there's a signature attached. Well, we'll review task 2 because I'm not exactly sure what it is, but you generate the signature and you tack it on there, that signature part. And then this whole thing is added as another header called authorization. Oh, I think this is the string to sign. Yeah, I think that's it. STS string to sign, that makes sense, right? So yeah, all the stuff I'm looking at here, it leads back to my other thing here, that Amazon's documentation links to a nice set of test vectors we can use. So I've already pulled them down, and I'm thinking of just checking them into GitHub, because why not, right? That way it will have its own, it already has its own license right here, Apache license, and let's see, if I can use it without modifying it at all, then I believe that would be the best. I'm actually wondering why they don't just put this into GitHub themselves. Would make sense to me. We'll put that into GitHub, and then we'll be setting up, I think I'm going to be setting up an AWS library that works with this test suite in its test framework. And then we'll have the library basically start with a request, and it will end up with the signed request. Right? Really just adding an authorization header. That's all it's doing. In fact, what we might want to do is just have the library minimum just generate the authorization thing, and then let the user tack on if they want as the authorization header. Yeah. So first things first, I got to go check this in. So Right, I had already set it up in the place I wanted and done git init. I think we just want to do git add everything. Sure, it's going to replace line feed with character return line feed. I think that's okay. We might have to be careful in our message digest stuff that we maybe need to convert character return line feed back to line feed, but that's should be fine. Initial revision. Actually, hold on. I'll commit it, but then I'm immediately going to go and amend the commit. I want to add some extra information, like where I got this thing from. This was obtained from, and then I'll just grab the link. Put today's date. That way, if they update it, I can kind of track get a little bit more information on how it's tracked. Okay, so let me. I'm gonna go off stream here just to create a place on GitHub for it. What do we want to call it again? I guess we'll just keep the name. So literally this name, AWS SIG v4 Test Suite. AWS SIG v4 Test Suite. All right, so I can do git remote add origin, git add github.com, 354, AWS SIG v4 Test Suite. .git. I always like to add .git. It's sort of optional, but I like to add it. Push set upstream origin master. Now if you were to go to my GitHub area, it should be there. Let me make sure it's there. Yep, it's there. There's no readme. But at least there's the license and the notice. Okay. So let's go and do mugget add that guy. Oh, it added a slash. Oops. Let's fix that. Actually, I don't know if it matters. There we go. So should have added something in the manifest here. And let me make a copy of that to the alternate manifest. For the people who don't like to have a SSH key in their GitHub. All right. Twitch newbie question. Are Twitch channel subscriptions something you must renew each month? Must? No. But you might have had it set to auto renew. Oh, unless you manually renewed, which might mean that in your settings you don't have it set up to auto renew. It's up to you if you want to auto renew or not. And if you do not auto renew, then yeah, you have to re-renew. Re-renew? Just renew. Resub. Resub manually unless it's set up for automatic. So yeah, let's check this in. Alright, so it's ignored from the top and it's in the menu. That's good enough for now. Well, hold on. I want to kind of set up a variable in my CMake to remember where it is. Not to remember where it is, but to tell my AWS library where to find the test suite. Where to put the... Okay, probably only makes sense when we're at the top level, right? So within here, where should we do it? How about right here? Let's specify where to find the AWS... What's the real name? What's a real good name for it? Signature version 4 test suite. Okay, so that would be set. Yeah, set. So AWS sig for test suite will be in let me think about this. Do I need to use a variable for the current source dir? I think I do. This is the current binary dir. What was that? I don't even remember what that does. Anyway, current source dir. I should make sure that that's spelled right. Actually, if I search for that and remove that from the exclude, I should find this. Yeah, so it's used elsewhere. Yeah, okay, we don't need to. You could stop searching. What's the stop searching? Just clear stops the search? Okay, and then that slash AWS, where did we put it? Sig v4 test suite. All right, so I'm going to use that. I want that in the same commit. So we're adding it, and then in our CMake we're making a variable so that we can locate the directory from other places. Okay, so add AWS signature version 4 test suite to the solution. Let's talk about the define AWS sig for test suite CMake variable that contains the path to the test suite, so that anything in the test suite can find it. All right, and I had made the AWS directory, but it's empty right now. So let's populate it with some boilerplate stuff for like a library. So pick a small library to copy from. What's my favorite small library to copy from? UTF-8 or URI? Something that has only one file in it. Yeah, this will do. We'll copy the contents of UTF-8 over to AWS. And change all the stuff. So this is AWS. This is a library which is used to, well, which library which contains utilities, hopefully useful for interacting with Amazon Web Services, AWS. Okay, now what are we gonna have? We'll have a sign. We'll just talk about the sign. How about API sign? Sign API? Sure. The AWS sign API function I'm gonna make overloads. Functions can be used to sign, not signal, sign AWS application programming interface. I like to spell initialisms and acronyms out the first time in a document like that. Request messages. Sure, that's all we have to start with. I really need to get a better habit of keeping my readmes up to date. I know a lot of my libraries have like old and obsolete and just incorrect readmes. For example, a lot of them just say this right here, prerequisites, just has that and doesn't list the actual prerequisites. And we shouldn't really say that unless it really doesn't depend on anything else, right? Are there different definitions of the term overload? I'd suppose, but I like to use overload to mean that it's more than one function that has the same name, and to know which one you're using, you have to look at the types of your arguments. That's what I call an overload. Different from override. Override would be in C++ where you have a virtual method and you, in a derived class, you override it. There it's not overloaded. It's the same parameter types. It's just that the derived class wants to replace it with its own thing. That's override, as opposed to overload. Overload is always same name but different types for arguments. Okay. License. I think we can keep MIT. We're not going to be deriving or changing the test suite. We're just using the test suite. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, my thing can be MIT even if the test suite is Apache. I think at most, I might have to say something when we run it, saying that it uses the AWS test suite. Where does it say? I think it's here. Yeah, if I make a derived work. So maybe I want to have something. This says if the work contains a notice file. I wonder if you guys could hear the cat in the background. He wants someone to pay attention to him. He's like up there. Anyway. All right. Yeah, I don't know about this license stuff. You know, a lot of people say they're not lawyers. I wish I actually was a lawyer sometimes. And then I can actually say, well, yeah, I am a lawyer, and so I can feel confident reading it. AWS. Okay, so let's call this Sign API. That's what I named it here, right? Yeah, Sign API. Oh, right. I was saying about README. We should say what our actual dependencies are. I tried to do this in one of the recent libraries. Twitch, maybe? Nope, this is an example where it's not up to date. Was it TLS Decorator, maybe? Nope. Gosh, what was it? One of these guys. Maybe it was Rover? Nope. Oh, hold on. It was an app. Which was it? Lurker, maybe. Lurker or MathBot? Ah, here we go. So yeah, this is like the new text for if we write something that depends on other C++ libraries. So we will put that. We'll use that in that. We'll use that here. And then we will list our prerequisites. So I was trying to follow this format where if we have something that we add as a prerequisite, we will have it into this list with a link to GitHub. So I know that my AWS is going to depend on HTTP because I want to use that library to handle request parsing, so we don't have to redundantly do request parsing. So this is a library implementing, well, let's just look at the library's README and see what it says. Yeah, let's just put that there. Okay. I suppose I should just wrap everything here, right? Why not? That's a little pedantic. I'll let it slide. If you look at the preview, it doesn't really matter how we do line breaks. It auto wraps in the markdown anyway, or in the when markdown is applied. All right. Anything else we should say that's different from our normal, or not normal, but our old boilerplate? Hey Jesse, how's it going? Trying to get some work in on parsing or signing AWS requests before I have to go do some errands. So it's probably be a shorter stream. Okay. Probably will depend on more stuff, but we'll come back to that, okay? So got the CMake set up, right? Okay, now this needs to change. AWS tests, and then the actual test will be sign API tests. So Jesse, did you stream today? If so, what are you working on today, or what have you been working on recently? This is sign API tests. Sign API tests. Doing React stuff, all right. I'm gonna get back into React, and I'm gonna be very embarrassed, but I have to get through that because I'm planning to use React to build up a client for a game. We'll see how that goes. I've been working on an RPG game concept for like a long time, and it keeps moving platforms and technologies because I never really finish it, and then things move on, right? I think I started when it was MS-DOS, and so yeah, anything I wrote back then I can't really use, other than like the original epic artwork and music that my brothers and I came up with. But yeah, the latest incarnation, I want to put it on the web, so I want to use React to be in the client, which will be in the browser. Updating Babel, Webpack, or is it Babel? Workpack and Storybook in an endless cycle of trying to get your app to work normal. Yeah, that, that sounds like you're a real developer. That's what we all have to go through, right? It's all endless cycles of trying to get where you want to go. Sometimes I think we should just keep our expectations really low. Wouldn't it be nice to think that, yeah, my app's done, I'm just making improvements to it. All right, what was I going to call this? Yeah, AWS, and then it's not a class, it's a function. It's sign API. All right, so AWS, sign API. I don't know what headers I'm going to need. Maybe I'll keep them for now. I'll regret it later. I'll be going through and cleaning up and like, why the heck did I include vector? I didn't use it. So, question is, do we want to break this up into pieces or just go all in? Going all in means to do all 4 steps, all 4 tasks, so to speak, in the same test. I don't know if we need to because the test suite, if we look at it, it's got 5 files, not just 2. So here's the original request. So we could actually break it up into like just test the canonical request construction, and then just testing which part? The string to sign could be another test, and then producing the authorization code could be okay. Yeah, let's make it 3 tests. They'll be similar in that they will. What I wanted to do was not encode the actual test vectors in my Google tests, but have it actually actively go and search the AWS SIG v4 test suite and then grab the test from there. That way, if Amazon updates the test suite, my tests will update automatically too. So yeah, I think it makes sense. We'll have 3 different tests. So it'll be make canonical request, which means really I'll probably want to make this a class, not a function. Yeah. Be a class with like maybe it's just a class without state and it has static methods. Hey SourceFi, how's it going? What have you been up to? I see you in a lot of channels. I think because I kind of lose track. When we watch a channel and then the channel raids or hosts another channel, and then people come back to that, that happens a lot, right? So most likely we both watch Adam or someone, and now we tend to be in the same channels. Occasionally though, I get confused because I just randomly go browse Twitch and look up other web developers, other software developers, and start watching their streams. And then when I see people I recognize, I'm like, are they here because this was a channel I looked up when I browsed, or is it, or not? Or maybe I just randomly ran into them again. And then I start wondering, how big is the Twitch software development community really? It's kind of hard to tell because there's probably a lot of streamers out there with a low viewer count, and so they kind of get hidden, which is unfortunate. So make canonical request. Right, make string to sign. Will be the 3 steps, and then make authorization. Make authorization. Sure. Okay, so I'm basically just gutting what I copy pasted here, and then removing the rest. Yeah, let's clean this up. So that's the minimum that I'm going to need for sure. Yeah, so let me finish renaming first. So sign API. That's AWS. That's sign API. Okay. Huh. This wasn't even the right the convention I follow. Should have been library file HTTP. So AWS sign API HTTP. All right. Probably going to need memory at least because I'm going to use Pimple. Okay. This class contains methods used in different stages of signing Amazon Web Services application programming interface calls. So this is sign API. Oh, I should have just renamed everywhere. Right, so standard boilerplate stuff. I don't even know if I need a constructor because this doesn't really have any state, does it? In fact, I don't need lifecycle management, do I? At least not yet. We'll just declare, let's empty this out. Actually, yeah, no instances. I don't even need memory, right? Okay, so, well, hold on. I don't even need to write anything yet. I just needed that file, and then this file can just be empty. This is AWS. Clear that out. The bare minimum of what I will start with, and then need to pull this into the build system, don't I? Oh, this is missing stuff. This is missing the target link libraries. Target link libraries, here we go. I'll just pull that all the way over here. And I know I'm going to want HTTP, so I'll pull that in right now. Okay. Main CMake will pull in AWS. I mostly want to just make sure that CMake likes this and didn't miss anything, and then that this builds and does nothing. Actually, it'll run 3 tests that all pass because they don't do anything. Yeah, run those tests. So we should have 17 test suites now. One of them is AWS tests. Yeah, and I just saw it flash by saying that it passed. And let me get set up on the command line just to run it there from there. AWS test, AWS test. There we go. Okay. Close some of these things that we don't need. I don't need that anymore. Probably don't need that. Okay. I think I will make a test suite because I don't want to be repeating the logic for finding the tests or the test vectors. I want to put that into a fixture. And where's the last thing? Where's the last place I actually had a fixture? Not there. Yeah, here we go. So let's copy a fixture. All right. This is a test fixture for these tests for writing common. There we go. Software technology devs don't have high rate of viewers. Few people like programming. Yeah, but I've seen that a lot of people like to put other software dev streams up in the background. I like to have that in the background, and sometimes they'll say a term or talk about something that'll catch my ear, so to speak, and then I'll start paying attention. So I bet there's a lot of at least lurkers who just keep them on in the background. And I think it's neat when some other developer is working on some completely different language happens to mention some technology that is somewhat intersecting what I'm interested in. Like Adam talks about JavaScript libraries all the time, but occasionally he'll mention something similar to like AWS when he's doing his Docker stuff now. That even though his stuff is all in JavaScript, I might use Docker and I'm using AWS, so it's really interesting to me. Hey, Remil and return null. I like that name, return null. Oh, and Remil just rated, and is it rated and host or is it rated? I think Stream Elements is confused, but hello, Remil's community. I am working on making a library to sign AWS API requests. So I'm going to be leveraging AWS's test suite and using some libraries I wrote in the past. Some in the recent past, like yesterday, I was working on hash functions, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to use another older library I made that parses web requests. So this is going to be the thing we're testing. AWS sign. Oh, actually, we don't need a unit test. I really only wanted to have this set up for its setup and teardown. Well, thanks for following, guys. Hope this is interesting too. We'll see how far I get. I have to end in like an hour. I might stream later if I can. If not today, then tomorrow. But yeah, this is going to be a shorter stream, I think. Okay, the setup and teardown, I think I want... Hold on. I made this variable. I shouldn't say this variable until I'm showing it. I made a variable up here somewhere. Yeah, this guy. So it's in CMake. How do I get it into my code? Actually, don't know how to do that. I need to get it into the code somehow. I know. We'll add a definition. So this is what we'll do. So in that CMake, and then in the test CMake, right. After we add the executable, we can have a target compile definitions. This private And then we can say something close, something short. Test vector equals, and then we can replace in here that. Let me just see if that works. So I should have a macro like that now in my tests. So here. No, there. I should be able to say something like the test vectors are here. And then, how do you make it into a string? It's like, is that how you do it? I don't quite remember. Stringify. No, that's to concatenate. Okay, I can't remember how to do it, so I'm gonna look it up. Stringify. I'm sure someone in chat is telling me. No. Stringification. Oh, I have to do a pound define. Okay, that's no big deal. So it's like that. I was close, but I need to make that a macro. We'll call it that string. And then I have to use a macro. Like that. Not expected? Okay, what did I do wrong? Oh, I have to... Really? So it's an argument. Like that? I don't do this much, so I don't remember how to do it a lot of the time. Okay, I think that'll work. Let's see. I just want, just want to find out where those files are because we're going to be using them, using that path to iterate and look for our test vectors. Oh, that didn't work. Shoot. Oh, hold on. It should have just been that, right? Hold on. There's something... is it trying to tell me this won't work? I want to stringify the value of a macro. Oh, you have to use 2 levels. Okay. Let's just... I'm just not even going to worry about the names yet. Just copy what they have here in the nice GNU GCC manual. Okay, so I have to say it's X string of that. Is that what they're saying? Tricky, but it worked. Okay, let's clean this up. So, stringify macro, stringify define value, and then this is stringify. Really, it should be like that, shouldn't it? Sort of weird that we have to do that. So that's the weirdness that is the C preprocessor. Okay, so the test vectors are, we know where the path is now. Oh, right, I forgot to include the other utility I need. Oh, you know I'm in the wrong folder anyway. I should be in AWS. I want system abstractions. It's sort of like my tool chest of random tools. So that library has a directory lister searcher thing that I want to use. So the next step would be, let's do this in setup. Well, no. We're just hijacking one test for now. We'll use the thing, which I think I named it direct. I don't remember now. I'll have to look and see. What did I name it? I think maybe it was just in file, and it was like list. Yeah, there it is. So it's file.chpp. Hold on a sec. The dog's on the way to the groomer. All right. Intermission, that's right. That's from, I forgot I still had that audio going. That's from Monty Python, I think. Yeah, that overlay is my, maybe it's too elaborate. When I have to mute the mic and turn off the camera because I'm, for a privacy screen, I thought it was funny to put up that stuff, but maybe the joke's not that good. I can just remove it now. Okay, yes, that will not be found until I redo CMake. Now it finds it, and I can pull that in. So system abstractions file list directory is just this, and that should return. Oh, it wants. Okay, yeah, I need to store it in a list of strings, right? Keep it. Okay. Okay, didn't like that. There we go. All right, it's vector of strings. Entries. Okay, so let's just print them out for right now. So for const auto, just building this up incrementally. Let's just see what that does. Syntax error. Indeed, I do have a syntax error. Thank you, compiler. So helpful, the compiler sometimes. Okay. Right, so obviously we need to dig into that subdirectory. So let's actually do that in this here. It's that / AWS SIG v4 test suite. That shouldn't change. That changes. I sort of want it to be the responsibility of this, yeah, this CMake file here to know what directory we're going to be searching. Oh, that's smart enough to run CMake if it needs to before it builds. That's cool. I didn't know that. I've been hitting this button first and then this button, but I only really need to hit that one, it looks like. Cool, so there's all of the entries of the test suite, and each one should be either a test or a group of tests. So let's list those. And sub-entries. Always telling people that the compiler crashing on them is the best thing that can happen to them compared to runtime error, segfault, or exception being thrown. Well, so the compiler's not perfect, right? Compiler crashing is kind of should be a rare thing. I mean, there's a bug in the compiler, right? Okay, sub entries. Okay, what are we listing? Okay, the whole path is available, so I can just say entry. Actually, and I only want to do it if it's a directory. How about we do this? Just in case files get thrown in there. I'll let up here. If I have another helper thing here called is directory, entry. So if it's not, we will continue. Okay. And then like that. I mean, like crashing and your code giving you errors and warnings and stuff. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the like the runtime? I think of them as separate things. So the compiler is what's giving me the advice on how to fix my code in order to get it to build. And then when my code crashes, that's I don't think of that as the compiler. I guess, although I guess it sort of is partly the compiler. But I think of that as the runtime support or the runtime library. But yeah, there is a bit of overlap there, right? Because you could hook back into the compiler with sort of with the information debug information, right? Now what did I do wrong here? Oh, right. I did this in a weird way where you actually have to make it a file, entry file, and then ask the entry file, are you a directory? With no argument. Sort of I did it in a weird way. Always preferring those over runtime errors. Yeah, yeah. My thing I like to think of is the earlier you can catch a bug, the better. So if you can catch it in your thought process before you write it, that's the best. If you can catch it, next best would be if the IDE tells you that with a red squiggly that it's wrong. Next would be compiler, next would be linker, and next would be your test suite, I guess. And then after that, runtime error, and after that, the worst possible way to find an error is when it's been integrated into something larger and you get something weird happening and you don't know where the bug is. I'm sure someone somewhere has made a chart of that, like cost of a bug versus how early in the process you found it. It probably would be an exponential curve. Yeah. This is ready to test, right? No, maybe I forgot to build it. Yeah, I forgot to build it. There we go. So now we should be down to individual tests, right? Let me make this a little bit wider. And even a little bit more wide. Some of these test names are long. Okay, we're getting actual individual files. I think when we find something that ends with a rec, that's the original request, we can say we found a test case. These though, here we might have to go one level deeper. Should make this just recursive? Make a recursive function that finds the paths to test suites. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll call it does it? I'm just thinking what data type do I want? I guess it could just be a set. Set of strings? Because do I care about anything other than that it being unique? Find test vectors. And then it'll be given a path, and then it just searches subdirectories. Right? And then it'll have this stuff in it. So we're moving our stuff up to here. Moving on up. This will be the base thing, so let's do this. Eventually it's going to live here, but let's put it here, because I don't want to see it print 3 times. Test vectors equals find test vectors in that path, right? And then we'll print them out here for const auto test vector. This thingy. All right, so we don't need to do this. We're going to get the entries. We're assuming it's a directory. We're going to list it. I know. if we find something, basically if entry, well, ends with, it'd be nice if there was an ends with, right? How about we just use find last, no, I don't want it to match an embedded .req. I want to really end with, okay, so we'll just do it the way I originally thought, which is a two clause thing. We have to make sure there's the entry length at least 4 characters and entry substring entry dot length -4 equal dot rec. Hopefully I got the math right and not off by 1. See, if it was exactly that, it would be 4 characters, so it would be searching from the beginning, so that would work. It's handy when you're trying to figure out the math to think of the most elemental case, which would be a file just named that. So the length would be 4, so 4 minus 4 is 0, which is where you want to start searching on index 0. Okay, if it is that, then we're going to add that to the set, right? So we need to have a set. Test vectors, we're going to return that at the end. Don't know why I glance down at the keyboard sometimes to look for the keys, like I was looking for the J key there. I must be falling out of the habit of touch typing when I do that. Okay, so test vectors.insert entry. And that returns nothing, right? No, it returns something to tell us where it put it and whether it was actually inserted, when we don't care about that. So I do that when I'm explicitly saying I know that the method insert returns something, but I do not need it. I'm throwing it away. Explicit throwing it away. A lot of people just do that. And then it might be ambiguous. Did they forget to use the return value? Or did they just not know there was a return value? Or did they not care? That's saying I know that there's a return value and I definitely don't care about it. Okay, so if we don't find it, we're gonna check if it's, actually let's just continue at that point. So if we get to here, maybe I should comment this. If entry ends in .rec, this is a, is it true that they're all named the same as the directory they're in? That would be convenient. I think so. I think that's the whole point of it. Yeah. That I don't need to capture the beginning part of the entry. I could use the parent directory's name for this. Insert path, in other words. Actually, and it never has any further tests, so I can just return right away, right? Actually, and I can just return this. Can I do this? Can I return just a set containing path? I can. Look at that. If entry ends in a rec. Actually, there's a shortcut then I can do. Okay, isn't there? Yeah, I don't need to do this, do I? I can assume that we're iterating a directory and not an individual test. Yeah. If there is a file with the same, if there's a file under the entry, okay. First of all, we're going to skip it if it's not a directory. Let's just put that out of the way. Skip entry if it isn't a directory. If there's a file in the directory with the same name and ending in rec, that directory represents a single test. Single test. I had one of those moments where I'm like, not sure how to spell a word. Weird word moments, I guess you call it. So yeah, we're gonna make another one of these. entry file, entry test file is entry plus slash. Actually, I need the file name part of that. Do I have a utility for that? Why is file POSIX open? I don't know. Maybe not. No. I guess we'll just search, we'll just extract the name portion of the entry just by doing a search. So const auto path, last path delimiter. Actually, let's just shorten it. Entry dot find last of, and I can do both forward and backslashes. I just need to type the name correctly. So, assuming it'll always have a slash in it though, won't it? So I don't really need to check. I can just say entry name equals entry.substring delimiter plus 1. Right, so it's entry name. No, it's entry plus slash plus entry name plus dot rec. If that is a file, if entry test file is existing, then the path, no, not the path here. Now the entry is a test vector, and we don't return, we just continue. Otherwise, well, the continue is a shortcut, so otherwise, scan subdirectories for test vectors. So we don't need to do a list, we just need to do a recursive call. So we would do test vectors dot, here's where I wanted to do a union. Is there no union, or is it plus equals? How do you do a union of sets in C++? Shouldn't there be a method for that? Come on C++ people. Set union. Oh, there is. It's just an algorithm. Oh, I don't like C++.com. There we go. Kind of big though. Until C++ 20? They must have changed some weird syntax about it. Really? It's got that many arguments? First, last, first, last? Maybe their examples make it look easier. Oh, those are implementations. It looks ugly. I'd like to just say plus equals or something. Oh, merge. Here we go. Maybe that's what I want. No. Okay, what is Stack Overflow? What do the experts say? Actually, I like that. We would just insert the second set into the first. Yeah. So it would be const auto subtest vectors equals find test vectors of entry, and then test vectors dot insert subtest vectors. I closed that a little too early, didn't I? Oh, there's a 2-iterator insert. Okay. Begin and subtest vectors dot end. Alright, just like that, right? Okay, let's give that a shot. Whoops. ConEMU? Sure, ignore and continue my work, yes. Okay. Did that work? ConEMU is getting confused. So those should be the actual tests. The list is suspiciously small, so I'm wondering if I made a mistake. What I want to do is start that. Show that here. Maybe that's right. Maybe that is right. Because most of these are single test cases, right? Actually, there's a quick way I can check, right? I can do dir that star.rec/s. There are 31 files. And then how many is that? Is that 31? How many lines is that? New file, paste. Really? Copy? It didn't copy? Oh, because that was dumb. 31. Okay, so it did find them all. Don't save, close that. Okay, so we found all our test vectors. Maybe what we'll do is make it the path to the request. So it would be entry file dot get path. It makes it a little bit easier. Then we don't have to repeat that code that, yeah. Polyglot programmer. Hello. What's a polyglot programmer? If I am one, I don't know what it means. Is that bad? Okay, so we finally have a list of all our test vectors. So I can kind of pull that in now. Actually, we only really need to do it once ever, don't we? Can I make that just a static property? Static const? Does that even work? No. What if... Oh, it's because it's an instant. It doesn't need to be instance. Still no. Order shouldn't matter. Should it? Must have a constant value. Yeah, I see. But we can declare it, and then we can just assign it, right? We can probably this type is getting it confused too, and probably the const as well. Actually, let's try to keep the const in there. I'm guessing we have to do this, and put it down here, right? Sign API tests, and probably have to. What am I doing? Sign API tests that, and then I have to put the type in front again, don't I? And then this in front. Well, thanks for following, Soding. Polyglot is a person who speaks multiple languages. Oh, do I speak multiple programming languages? I think most programmers do speak multiple programming, or type multiple programming languages, don't they? To make sure that this did what I think. Actually, this is all that's all I really need to do, right? It should have just constructed it once. Yeah. Okay, so now Now we have it as a property. And we have this function to recursively do it. And actually don't even really need a setup, do I? I'll keep it though, since it's sort of traditional to make it part of the, oh, no, actually, no, I need it here to access it easily. Okay, so we don't need this anymore. Now we're free to finally start testing out, making our tests. What C++ testing lib do I use? I use Google Test. That is here. Actually, I'll show it here. Google Test. Google C++ test framework. So they have it in GitHub. I should try to get faster at this. GitHub.com Google Test. It's pretty cool. It follows the C test pattern, where you just say test macro to define your test, and then the actual test code. Let's find one that's actually been completed. So completed already. We'll look at yesterday's hash. This was kind of fun to do. So you have expect and do I have an example of assert? No, but you can either say expect or assert. And you can do equal, not equal, less than, greater than, other things. Your expected value and your actual value. And it handles discovering this test case in the first place and marking the test as passed or failed depending on if all of your expectations match. So it's pretty awesome. Voice dictate every single character when you code. Then you'll indeed be speaking the programming languages. Ah, yeah. I'll work on that. Okay, make canonical requests. So let me bookmark a couple of example tests just so I know what I'm doing. Let's do vanilla. So the canonical request of that is that. And our reference page is this task 1 here. And actually, they go into great detail on how to do it. But we won't look at it right away. We'll write the code that given that, it'll look for that file, open it, and get the contents out. Get that contents out, call the thing that we're going to test to make sure that when this is input, we get that as output. Fair enough? I say that's fair enough. Okay, so for const auto, what we kind of call this test request in a raw request file, request path in test vectors. Actually, let's just use a singular test vector for test vectors. We will read it in. So I'm just going to use, you could use fopen or your favorite library. I like to use my own wrapper library, even though I don't need to. Test vector file. And then we'll say test vector file open. And we'll assert that returns true. And then we will make a yeah, this thing works with buffers, right? Actually, let's use the actual type that it has. Buffer. Test vector contents. And then we fill it with, we size it to match the size like that. And then we do test vector file dot read test vector contents. And that, what does that return? A size. So assert equal this size. I wonder if I should just build that into the setup. Because we're going to do that for, no, we're not going to do that for every test. The other ones are going to like use the canonical requests and stuff like that. Yeah, never mind. So that'll read the contents for the test vector, and then we need to get the path to the expected canonical form of the request, right? What was I looking for here? Oh, code that I had before to yeah, never mind. It's system abstractions file, and then canonical, or for short, it was what? CREC. CREC path? No, file. And that is test vector substring test vector length minus 3. Like we can leave the dot and then add CREC, right? And then the same kind of thing here. We'll open it. We'll have a buffer. CREC contents. Right, and then we can simply expect equal CREC contents. Hold on, I think we want to make it into a string though. Like that, and then that equals what we get back when we try to get the canonical request. So that will be AWS sign API, and we'll expect there to be a method called construct canonical request, and then we'll pass in as a string the actual request. Test vector contents. Okay, let me wrap that since it's long. Okay, so red squiggly because we don't have this method yet, so or a function. Let's make that function method. So static. What do we expect to return? A string. Request. So we need string. Included. Nope, but we include it. Let's write the documentation. This really is a function because it's static. This function constructs the canonical request as defined by Amazon here. And then let me give a reference. Canonical? Where do they first define it? Elements? Maybe they, maybe it's here. Ah, yeah. Which, actually, let's break this up. So instead of saying it here, this function constructs the canonical request. Constructs the canonical request which corresponds to the given raw API request. Canonical request is as defined by Amazon there. Period. Okay, param request. This is the raw API request message. Return the corresponding canonical request. Canonical request is returned. Okay, so to get this to compile, we have to put that body where somewhere. So we'll put it here where it belongs. sign API construct canonical request, and we'll just have it return empty string, just so we can build it. Oh, and because it'll probably fail, we'll use this little trick that Google Test has where if it fails, we'll have it print out something, and we'll have it print out, let's just have it print out the name of the test vector, so that will be, I kind of want just the name part again. I know, we can make a helper for this. We'll make another helper. So static, actually these static methods really belong in this fixture, or should I make them global? Actually, it doesn't really matter. And this kind of thing, get file name only from a file path, that I should add to my library, my system abstractions library. It really belongs there. Return that. Because I just want to reuse this thing down here. Test vector. There we go. Because I know it's gonna fail. It's gonna fail all over the place right now, and I want to see the actual names of the tests that fail. Oh, hold on. Okay, it's failing to open the file, the canonical request. So what did I do wrong there? Oh, I look down again. Fail. Oh, that should have been 0, comma. Duh. That gets the last 3 characters, not everything but the last 3 characters. Okay, there. So yeah, now it's actually reading the actual test vectors from Amazon, and it's running our actual code, which doesn't do the right thing. It just returns null. But we can see that it's expecting this canonical request for that test. Right, so here's the actual string comparison. It's saying that is what we expect, and that's what we got. And actually gives us a nice diff. So if there was just part of the string that was different, we would see it. And then that's the name of the test. So if we have an individual test vector fail, we'll at least get a hint about the name. Maybe we should pretty that up though. We can say the name of the test vector that failed was that. Now maybe it'll be easier to see. There we go. We can, that kind of pops out now for me. Actually, we can make it better. And I look down again. Don't do that. Don't do that, Raimu. We'll make it pop out even more. There we go. I like it. Okay. So now our test suite, at least for the first test, is complete. Now we just actually have to write the code. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I like to do test-driven development. So I write the test first, then I try to write the code to make the test pass. That's in a nutshell what test-driven development is. So to make the test pass, we got to do the real thing. So here now we're going to do the real work that Amazon wants us to do. So I'm going to leverage this class I wrote called HTTP client. I don't know why it says that. Should be able to find it. But I should be able to, with this, make an HTTP request. How does this work again? I forget. I gotta look at that header. Not a transaction. Oh, maybe it wasn't in the client class, it was in the server class? Yeah. So I had this helper that parsed a raw HTTP request into a nice structure, which has like the different parts of it. Like the method, the URI target, the headers, the body. So I'm gonna use that. That is in server. Hold on a sec. Thought the door was open there. But it's the window making me think the door is open. The window's open. Okay, server parse request. Okay, it's going to give me a shared pointer, and it's going to want the raw request. Let's rename that raw request. Raw request. So I can call this one request. Okay. There we go. Ooh. Really, that's not static? It's not. That wasn't either. Is there a helper that I'm not remembering? Maybe it was in request. Maybe that's what. Maybe request had its own method to do it. Just generate. Okay. I guess that there is some state in parsing a request. There shouldn't be. I'll have to look into that later. Let me make a note about that. So why is HTTP server parse request not static? I don't remember. Making it static would be nice because I would be able to do something like that, but it's not, so I have to actually make an instance. Even though it's sort of dumb. Just so I can call that. I just don't remember why. Okay, I believe the documentation for that says... Hold on, that's not the right one. How come it's not showing me the... it just can't... It does... For example, for some reason it's not finding... This is what I want to see. Okay, there's a null pointer if it's incomplete, so we should do a check. If request is null pointer, then we'll just return an empty string. Because why not? It's not a complete request, right? Otherwise, what's the first step? So we take the method followed by a new line. Great. I feel like using stream this. So that's an O string stream canonical or canonical request, sure. And we're going to return canonical request dot as a string. O string stream is like a builder of strings that works with the stream, the C++ stream semantics, like shifting. So we can say something like shift out the method followed by, I think they said they wanted exactly a new line, right? Oh, here's the problem. The reader that I had, right? This file reader is going to read it as is, and when I'm on Windows, Git will have checked it out with carriage return line feed. Unless I were to explicitly overwrite it, which maybe I should. Maybe I can figure out how to do that. I need it to be exactly a new line, right? Because they say it's just a new line character, so no carriage returns are going to be in there. So maybe I can do it with the... Maybe, let me look this up. So it's git config preserve new line. Yeah, it's CRLF something. It's not auto CRLF. How about we'll say force LF. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so let's try that. So they're saying I just need a .get attributes file with that. Well, I don't want to have it in the get attributes though, do I? So I'm going to be making a modification to their test suite. That's okay. New file, get attributes with that in it. I think to test that I need to blow away all the files there and recheck them out. Let's do that. This will be fun. Blow away all the files. Add a nuke. So remove everything. Actually, just remove everything, right? That's a very dangerous command. You always have to make sure you're not doing something stupid. And then I do get reset hard. And now they're back, and hopefully now they'll be back with just line feeds only. Nope, it's got a CRLF. Okay, that didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. Okay. There's probably something else I have to put in there. Probably this thing? Does that get checked in though? I don't know. I guess we can test it. So it would be get config core.eol lf. Now remove everything, and I'm in the right directory, right? And then get reset hard, and then go back to here and just look at. I should have just kept the file open. Nope, it's still CRLF. Gosh darn it. Actually, I can just do OD type x1 notice. I can look. Yes, carriage return line feed. Okay, so this isn't working. It's set to line feed. It's set to. I wonder if that format is wrong. What if I just remove? Nope. Oh well. So I didn't do this part. I was just assuming I could do remove all the files and reset. But maybe I do need to do that. I could do that too. Okay. Get attributes. Put it back there, and we'll try this other idea. That it's star text auto eul equals lf. Okay, that did it. There we go. Cool. And let me make sure I just don't know if stuff checked into git config are actually checked in. I don't think so. So we kind of need one problem I have with the Visual Studio Code is I can't actually look at the .git folder. I have to actually say, I know I want to go into the git folder and look at config. Guess it's not too onerous. I need to get rid of that line to make sure this still works. So close that. Remove all the files. Git reset hard. Then we'll look at that notice file. Okay, it's still just new line. Okay, that'll be good. That'll work. We'll do that. Let's check that in. Yeah, good. That's exactly what I want, actually. For that file, yes. How come you won't go away? Continue. So, force LF for new lines. We need to make sure new lines are only LF because messages in the test vectors are very sensitive to changes because of the fact their contents are going to be hashed. Yeah. I'm just anticipating that problem and trying to avoid it. Expect that to be changeable somewhere in VS Code, something like hide dot files. Weird thing is it shows .get attributes, it just doesn't want to show .get. Yeah, but you're probably right, it's probably a setting somewhere. Alright, so yeah, now it shows up as LF, which is great. So, back to coding. Right, so this is what made me think of it. We want it to be actually the new line without the carriage return. I think this will do the right thing because I think the carriage returns are added when you go through the file APIs and you say it's a text file and not a binary. We're not going through file APIs, we're just doing it in memory, so that shouldn't have a carriage return in it. Although we'll easily see that in our test if it did. So, okay, that's the first step. Close all that. So it's method followed by new line, and then it's the canonical URI followed by the new line. This is where I think my HTTP request will do the right thing, but it might not, but we'll find out. I think I can just say, I wonder if I should mark this up too. Step 1, and then following steps should match those shown here. What am I doing? I return constructed request. So, done. Step 2. So I think it's just request target get path. We'll see. And then 3 is the query string. Followed by a new line, yes. Oh, it's a vector. Wonder why I did that. I think it's for ease of extracting various elements. So we need to reconstruct the string from that. System instructions join. I have this nice thing called join, which we can use, I think. Like that, right? No? Has no join? Oh, it's probably because I haven't included it. I think that was string extensions. Right? Again with that. Oh, the delimiter is a string. Oh, okay. Well, only need to be a single character string. All right, and then on to step 3. What is, alright, that was the query. But we need to do some extra stuff here. Sort the parameters by character code in ascending order. Duplicate names should be sorted by value. Awesome. So request.query. Is there no query? That was target.query, I think, or get query. And that's a string. Okay, so we need to break it up. It's broken up by these and signs, right? So I think I had a split for that. Split? Yep. Why is it showing me? That's the wrong split. That's the correct split. It's just a vector strings, a single character. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Split is for single character. Join is with strings. It doesn't really balance right. Let me make a note about that. So split work uses single character delimiter, while join uses a string. Not balanced. Okay. Get back. We'll fix that later. Split the query by the @ signs. And those are the what are those named? Parameters. And then we want to further split it at the equal sign, right? So equal can actually be in the value itself, right? I feel like I've done this before. Where do I use get query? I guess I did it in the unit test. Okay, never mind. Guess we'll yeah, let's make, it's gonna want us to sort it, so let's do the sorting by having a map. And actually it's gonna be, it's 2 levels of sorting, isn't it? Sort by parameter names, and with duplicate names they should be sorted by value, so we kind of need a custom sort, don't we? Or actually, we can use the sort algorithm, that's what we'll do. Yeah, so this will be mostly sorted. We need map for that. And string. Yeah, this is going to take longer than I thought. I don't know if I'll get through all of this. I might have to end early. Oh well. So this is... okay, we'll just call this parameters vector, parameters map. Const auto parameter in parameters vector. Const auto delimiter is parameter dot find first, or I guess just do find, right? Equal. And then if, yeah, it might be end. If delimiter, or not end, the no position, right? If it's no position, otherwise there is a position. If there's no position, then parameters map of the whole parameter is empty, right? Otherwise, parameters map, and then here we do parameter substring 0 through delimiter equals parameter substring delimiter plus 1. I suppose we need to handle spaces and junk like that, don't we? And looks like we have, okay. It might already be URI encoded. I don't remember though. That's what the test suite will help us find out, right? Yeah, we're gonna have to sort them and then reassemble them, which reassembly is not that hard. So this will do an initial sorting. Now we kind of wanted, for this we need algorithms. We'll need to do an additional sorting. So first, last, right? So that's parameters map begin to parameters map.end, and then the predicate. And I forget how to do this. So I'm just going to look at where I did this before. I haven't done this before, really. I could have sworn I've done standard sort before. It didn't look like it searched a whole lot. Okay, I'll take it for granted that I haven't done standard sort before. C++ standard sort. We'll just look at the manual. You probably have a example. Yeah, so you can use a function, and then that's two things by. Does that have to be by value? Let's see if we can get away with references. So const left-hand side const. This is only going to sort by the keys, isn't it? Oh, hold on. How does sort work with a map? It actually, I think it's value type, isn't it? That's a comma. Isn't it value type? Which gives you both the key and the value, which is what we need. Because we want to say if left-hand side is less than right-hand side, return true, right? Else if right-hand side is greater than, or left-hand side is greater than right-hand side, return false. Else return left-hand side dot, oh, this should be dot first. These should all be dot first. So basically we primarily sort by the key. Otherwise we're going to sort by the value. Equal? How about strictly less than? There we go. So now it's going to sort them. But then it's going to store them back into the map, which isn't what we want. Yeah. I guess we don't really want map, do we? Let's just use vector. We'll have to have a structure though. So parameter. Name and value. I guess I could use pair, but this is more explicit. And then we just say push back name value. Or name, and this, it's parameter or empty string. It'll let me do that, right? And it's not parameters map anymore, it's parameters, hold on, abort. This we will rename parameters string. And let's reuse that. Oh. I don't want the multi-cursor thing, please. There we go. And I can rename. Oh, I guess I undid that one. Parameters string. This one is parameters vector. There is the name, and there is the value. Okay. And now it's just a parameter. And then instead of first, it's name. And instead of second, it's value. Cool. And then besides sorting, what do we have to do? I'm hoping I don't need to do this because my class already did it, but we'll see. Build the canonicals. Right, so I'm wondering why they have, it's like D and E are part of C, aren't they? Just basically says rebuild the string. So we already sorted, so parameters. Well, actually, we can just immediately put it into the canonical request, right? Basically for const auto parameter and parameters vector. We just have to remember when it's not, when it's the first. So first, if not first, canonical request, put in, why am I looking at the keyboard? Touch type. And it's going to be parameter name equal parameter value. And then at the end, it's an extra new line. So that should be it for task 3. Task 4, okay, it's the headers followed by a new line. And then we have to sort them, I'm sure, right? Convert them to lowercase. Remove spaces. Convert sequence. There's a lot of junk here. Actually, let's just see how well I've done with this so far. It'll all fail, but the diffs should be smaller now, hopefully. This shell. Let's look at the damage here. Wait a minute. Clear. I think I'm getting confused by previous output. Okay, no, we're not even printing out. Maybe this doesn't even parse correctly. That might be because it's really, yeah, I think I might know why. I think my utility requires an extra new line at the end. These probably don't have them, right? Yeah. In fact, they're missing. They're completely missing the real end. We can kind of build that in, can't we? When we read them in. So, hold on, I'm getting confused. We read in the vector. Test vector contents, right? We can add an extra new line. I wonder if my library is going to complain because they're not character return new lines. Actually, we need 2 of them, right? We need to end the last line and then have an extra blank line. See if that doesn't fix it, then I might have to look into replacing new lines with character return new lines. Just for the .rec files. Clear and run. Where's my scroll bar? Yeah, it still doesn't do it. Oh, I'm curious about this. So let me step into this. So to do debugging, we have to add a configuration, and this is AWS tests. I'm just going to steal from a nearby launch configuration and replace the name of things. This is AWS, right? And then now we're set to build, not build, but run. And I need to set my breakpoint. Let's put it in this guy. Yeah. All right. Debug, go. All right, so the raw request. Did it parse? It's not parsing. Okay, so let's step into that and find out why. Oops. I overstepped. Right, okay, here we go. Let's put another breakpoint here in case I get lost. Oh, it is looking for carriage return line feed, so it's not going to find it, is it? Nope. Yeah, that's the reason. So we got to do a bit of replacement. Okay. Not too bad. We can do replace. We can split on line feeds and then join them back with character return line feeds, right? Only my join was working with strings, wasn't? Well, but we can do a naive join. That's what we can do. Okay, so we can do this. We can do it. Yeah, let's have this a helper here again. How about clean up request, and then we'll give this to it, and then this will return a string. Let's put it here. Input. Yeah, let's use our new best friend sstream. So ostring stream output, return output.string, and then so we want to split. So well, we can inline this. So we can say for const auto line in system abstraction split. I needed to include the string extensions for that. No suggestions, huh? Come on, help me out. Oh, maybe that's because do the tests rely on? Okay, the tests do rely on system abstractions. This one doesn't though, and it probably should because we're using it here, aren't we? Yes. So yeah, we should not rely on transitive dependencies. Okay. Split. Yes. The input on line feed. Output the line followed by character return line feed. And then we want an extra one at the end, right? Actually, we want 2 extra ones. Because that terminates the last line, and then an extra one because the server parser request expects that. Because that's what marks the end of the body and the beginning of the next message. If it was a real HTTP connection. Let's try this again. I'll keep that breakpoint and we'll just see if that helps out our initial parsing. So I'm just going to seek down here to look. Yeah, so now it's carriage return new line. So it should, hopefully it should parse the request now. Cool, we got a valid request. What's in that request? Get, the target path has 1 segment. It's just empty, so it's slash, yeah? Oh, I wonder if we're constructing that correctly. Probably not. I'm just already thinking that I can think of some bugs. Okay, our headers are host my header 1 with values 1, 2, and 2, and then that Amazon date. So it looks like most of the parsing is correct. I think we might have to fix up the path though. Yeah, because this is going to join a single segment which does nothing. So right, it's just an empty string, not a slash. Let's see what the parameters do though. I'll just see what it does when it gets down to here. Actually, hold on. No, I want to see it here. Parameters vector. Are there no parameters? There are no parameters in no query string? Oh yeah, there was no query string. Yeah, okay, so this test is not going to have a query string in it. Okay, but anyway, the one bug right away is there needs to be a initial slash if the request is the request target is, I think I have it a thing, is, or absolute. So is relative reference, is that what it was? It's not a relative reference, you have to have a slash in front. I think that's what it was. So yeah, this URI thing is like one of the very first classes I did on Twitch streaming, like back in June. So it's been a while. I think that's right. Can I go in there and look at the code? Okay, that's not right. I need this one. Is path absolute. Is that not public? It's not public. I guess we can just have this, we can just reuse this logic. I'm surprised that I don't have a public method for that. Is relative reference, contains relative path. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I want. Yeah, okay, yeah. I just have to double negative it. Contains relative path, and then not contain relative path. Yeah, okay. Let's try that. Let's clear and run this. I might have to end the stream early and finish this next time. I think I'm running out of time. Okay, so we have the get. We have the slash. We haven't done the headers yet. So the diff is basically just the headers part. I'm looking now for one that has a query string in it. Oh, the UTF-8 codes in the request aren't encoded right. I need to look up and see, are we supposed to do that, or should that have been in the original request? Oh, here's one with query parameters. Hold on, dog barking. Woof woof. I'm gonna have to mute it for a bit. I think that was the mailman or something. Oh, yeah, I lost my place because I hit my hotkey to mute. Okay, here's one with a query in it. Oh, oops, we put the at in front. Oh, I know why. I know why. I had the first thing wrong. I'm wondering why it doesn't, why the diff looks like, oh, I see, it's that is different from that. Okay, got it. So let's fix that. I had the first thing wrong, I'm sure. Yeah, first should be true. And yeah, if it's first, then it's no longer first. Basically, we don't want that in front, but we want it between every successive one. Okay, let's see. Okay, didn't get that right somehow. Oh, yeah, it's just complaining because I ended early. The diff is just confused. Also, that last line doesn't have a new line at the end. I think we need to clean that up too. It's supposed to have a new line at the end, I think. But yeah, the query string is correct. What was the one that had two values in it? I guess that was the one, right? Query order key case. Let's look at that. What's it called? Get vanilla query order key case, right? This one. Right, so that's when we expect it to sort it correctly. And it did. It put it 1 first and then 2. So it looks like we just need to handle the headers, and then we need to handle the UTF-8 encoding. I need to look up and see, are we supposed to already have it encoded, or is it something my request parser should have done? I don't remember. I'm guessing that's something that we have to do before we give it to my class, so that would be something I need to modify the test vectors. You know, mostly because I'm pretty sure, I need to look this up, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to see this on the wire. When you're constructing the original request, you should have percent encoded that already. And so that's not really what you're going to see. Again, not going to see that on the wire. And yeah, like why did they put this in the test vector if you're supposed to have that percent encoded to begin with? I don't know. But it could be a misunderstanding. Let me put that in a note to look that up. See, are UTF-8 character, or UTF non-ASCII characters basically, supposed to be encoded in HTTP requests? Already encoded? If so, then when we read the test vector in, we should do that encoding. That's like, if that's true, if it's supposed to already be percent encoding, then stuff that they say here, I kind of don't agree with them saying it here. Where is it? Normalizing the paths according to RFC 3986. Like, maybe it should have already been normalized. And why does it, what does it have to do with Amazon's APIs? I'm assuming the normalization includes the UTF-8 encoding. Actually, it could be wrong. So let me make a note about that. How am I going to do this? Paste. Keep text only. Amazon docs say to normalize path according to this. Shouldn't this already be done? But no. In other words, shouldn't it be done when we formed our request in the first place? Like another, like my built-in URI class should be normalizing it. Actually, now that I think about it, the answer is probably no. Probably we need to do that. Yeah, so let me do a little bit of the header stuff, and then I'll call it for now. And we'll get back to this next time. So the header stuff. Don't look down. Trying to remember to touch type. Okay, so that's part 4, right? Step 4. Hey, Remiel again. That RC is URI. Yeah, so I already have that URI class. I'm just wondering, does my URI class already do that for me or not? And the UTF-8 stuff, if it's not, like, should I be doing it here or should I be doing it in my URI class? I just screwed up this target thing, URI. I'll do that research later. We're just saying step 4, and this is the headers. So to create the headers, let's convert all names to lowercase and remove. Okay, we don't need to worry about that because my request parser should have done that already. Convert sequential spaces in the value to a single space. Okay, I don't think I do that, so we'll need to do that. So let's do the sorting. So the same kind of thing here. We'll have to make a vector of them. If you ever seen links like something that would be URL encoding, yeah, I can look really quick and see, does my URI class do that already? Oh, it decodes them. Okay, this is encode element. That's what I'm wondering. When do we do that? When we generate a string. Okay. Okay, so maybe I have to call URI generate string to percent encode it. That actually makes sense. So instead of pushing in the target, where did I do that? Oh, right. Instead of pushing in the path. Oh yeah, this already does all that stuff. Only we have to strip out the query fragment and authority parts. Okay, we can do it like this. So I can just make a new one. And actually, if I want to do that, then I need to depend on that library directly. And so what does Amazon call this part in step 2? It's just the path component. So request path. Set path. Request target get path. Right, and then instead of doing this, I can just say canonical request is request path dot generate string. And then it needed a new line. Oops. Actually, let me try that real quick and see what that does. So we will comment that out. That wasn't even finished yet. That probably does the UTF-8 encoding and all the other stuff for us. So let's see. Let's see if that works. Probably not, but one could hope. All these first ones are just get slash. That one it worked with. Okay, this one it failed. What did it do? It just made it slash. Huh. How'd that happen? It should have decoded that into UTF-8, and then when I generated it back, it shouldn't have just been slash. I'll have to look and find out what I did wrong. Again, it did it here. Oh, wait, but no, that was part of the parameters. The query string. Oh, yeah, so I need to do the same thing with the query string, don't I? Yeah. Okay, Let me make a note of this. So I think I answered this question. Yes. Our URI class should be encoding, decoding this, but we need to check. And yes to this, same answer to this. Okay, and then this thing was about, right, query string, percent encoding in UTF-8. Let's see if URI class can be leveraged to help us with this. So like the actual encoding and decoding, maybe I make that part of URI's public API so that we can reuse it rather than copy pasting it. Oh, how did that become /dot/example? That should have been normalized. Okay, so something's broken in the path normalization, obviously. Either that or dot is okay normally, but Amazon doesn't like to see dots. Okay, let me make a note about that. /dot example. Was that the example? Yeah, example. Should be example. Check URI path normalization. Stuff for me to check. Dots should be okay, but then I was looking at their test vector and it looked like they don't want useless dots. They actually had a special test for that. It had useless dot in it. Where was it? I think it was normalized path. Yeah, pointless dot. So if the request is /dot/example, they want the canonical path to not have the dot in there. So the question I need to go research is that pointless dot supposed to be removed in general for URIs, or is it just an Amazon rule? Slashes are not, quotes are not, spaces are not, UTF-8 characters over ASCII are not. Not what, okay in paths? Yeah. They're all supposed to be percent encoded, right? But Amazon is saying it's a pointless dot and so it should be removed. Part of the normalizing path. Yeah, so their rules on normalizing path, I want to look up later. Are those just Amazon rules or are those also general rules in URIs? If they're general rules in URIs, that means I have a bug in my URI class. If they're Amazon specific rules, then we need to actually code up those extra normalization rules in the code here. Yeah, so stuff to look at. So let me finish the stuff about, and I look down again. Shame on me on the headers, and then that'll be the first pass at canonical request construction, and then I do some research and list what changes I have to make, some additional rules and whatnot, maybe fix bugs in URI, and then get this done. And then let me think just really quickly about those other two tests. These should actually be a lot easier because this one's just really using the hash function we made yesterday and the HMAC function. And this shouldn't be too hard either. So really I started on the most difficult one, which is all of the funny little rules about what Amazon wants there and what the standards want you to do to clean up requests. I should have done these first. These would have been easier. Instead I bit off the most difficult one first. Oh well. So this is now headers vector. I think we can reuse the class HTTP request header. Oh, it's message headers. Okay, I forget what it is. Let's look. It would be in here. this class. Where is this? Oh, it's a different library. Okay. All right. No problem. Message headers. Let me rerun this. Make sure I got it right. Okay, message headers. I look down again. Shame on me. Touch typing. Message header. Yeah, okay. I thought both of them were plural. Okay, so for const auto header and request headers. Each one of these is a... Oh, what happened here? Oh, is it get headers? I forget. It is headers. Is that not an enumerable type? Oh, it's not. Oh, but I had like a get all or something, right? Actually, it was in that class, message headers. Oh, right, the individual thing was a header. And there's a get all. Okay, so it's get all. So yeah, a lot of these classes you're seeing, I wrote in previous streams, so if you're confused, then I'm sorry. I kind of am building up my software from stream 1, which was back in June, so I apologize if I'm relying on stuff I wrote in previous streams and you haven't seen them, but hopefully the names and the way I use them kind of give you a hint about what I'm doing. So these are the headers for a HTTP request, and the get all is going to give us each one separated onto a vector. And each element is a header, and that has a name and a value, and they're only their own classes and not strings because I have special rules about comparing them to compare in a case-insensitive manner. But they're convertible to strings. Both header names and the header value actually is a string. So actually, if I want, I can just store this as this. Well, I want to keep that structure because it has both the string and the value. Actually, really, isn't it? Okay, isn't that just that? Yeah, what am I doing? Const auto, or really, yeah, we need to put it into the vector. And then we sort it, right? Actually, no. We can put it in there, but we need to make them all lowercase and then sort them, right? So for auto, now I'm not using const this time because I'm actually changing them. Header dot name equals, what did I have? I had like a helper for this. To lower, yeah. And then we can sort them. Oh, I guess at the same time we can do the removal of the spaces. I'll make that a to-do. I'll do that later. Remove extra spaces. Do they have a link to that? Okay, but it's in that. There's one in standard 2, though you recall it's a slight pain to use, yeah. That's one reason why some of the classes I wrote in system abstractions exist, because you could do it with the library, but I found them to be kind of a pain. So, in fact, I need to add more to that library. there's more stuff that I find a pain in the standard library that I'd like to just have my own wrappers for. Okay, so it's actually headers vector. Sort them. The type is sort of a cumbersome name because it's the library, the class, and then the type, the structure within the class. If it's, does it have another bizarre rule about the two headers having the same name? Let's see. Do not sort the values in headers that have multiple values. Okay. So this is going to be tricky though, because I don't know if sort will sort them. Actually, I have an idea. We can... Oh, hold on, dog barking. Gotta mute for a while. The dog might bark for a bit. I might have to mute a little bit, but... kind of running out of time. In C-type, and you need to pass the char t in to and back for some reason. Another one in locale. Locale scares me, actually. Don't like looking at locale. Okay, what I'm thinking of doing is we'll have our own vector that will preserve the order of things. Because I have like a get all header values, it gives us a vector if there's a header with multiple values. So it would be like, have a struct header, name, and then, let me see if I get this right. So request headers.get, get header multi-value gives us a vector of strings. So if we have a vector of strings, then we can preserve the values in the correct order, right? So we would have a vector of these headers, like that. And we can just for const auto header in that, we can say headers dot push back, and then it's header dot name, which is convertible to a string. Actually, we can do the two lower at that point, right? Two lower. What if you have something like A, and then you have capital A on the next header line, though? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, and then the vector is request headers dot get header multi-value for... Actually, is get all going to return... What's it actually going to return? So what does get header multi-value return? I just want to look that up. What does it want me to do? Oh. There we go. Oh. So it will be on multiple lines. So we kind of need to always force it to, yeah, I know what we'll do. So instead of a struct, it's just going to be a map from strings to these vectors. And that is the headers. And then we'll say, oh, because we don't have map. I removed map from my includes. Vector? Yeah, vector. We'll get the name. By going, and then we'll look it up. So actually, it's easy. We can just say, we can actually turn this into auto header equals headers and then use the index operator. That'll create it if it didn't exist. Otherwise, it'll just oh, I'm using the same name twice. Header entry, headers entry. It'll create it in headers if it wasn't there before. Otherwise, it gets us a reference to the one that was already there. And then we'll simply push back. Second, right? No, this is just the values. Push back directly into that, right? Yep, push back the header dot value. Yeah, there we go. Phew. Now we just sort by, so that'll collect all the values for a header, even if the header is there's more than one of it, and it'll keep them in the original order. And then we'll just sort headers. Right, we'll sort the headers by name. So we'll have to have actually we have to bring that structure back in, don't we? Yeah. And then this is the values. And then we say vector headers. Okay, this is headers by name. And this is headers, we'll just call it vector. We can call reserve on it to, we know how much memory it'll need. It'll be headers by name size. And then we, for every header by name, we'll headers vector dot push back the header first and the header second, right? And then all this stuff. Oh, we have to remember to do that. That needs to be done here, right? And then we sort them. And here, the type is header. And I think we just need to sort it by name, right? So just return that. So a much simpler predicate. And then finally, we reconstruct it, right? How do they want us to reconstruct it? No space. It's just name colon value. And then a new line. Fair enough. So for const auto header and header vector. Canonical request is header name. Single colon header values. Oh, and that needs to be joined with a comma, right? Comma separated list. Let me look at their actual vectors. Or they had a multi-value one. Header value case. Here we go. I want one with multi-value. Multi-line. Duplicate. How about this one? Yeah, so what is that? Okay, so they just want a comma, no spaces. Got it. So comma. So that's just system abstractions join with a single comma and then a new line. And then after that, they wanted a new line after the last header, right? So let's try that. Let's see how close we got. And after this, I think I'll wrap it up for the day and finish up tomorrow. Unless there's something really easy I can fix here. Okay, so I guess there's a step 5 that has the this code stuff in here, right? Where would I look at that? Find that? Yeah, this. Is there a step 5? A task 5? Oh yeah, there's a step 5. Assigned headers. Oh, we can add that. That's easy. What's the last one? Hashed value from the payload. We can do that too. Yeah, we can do this. This one's easy, so that's step 5. No, don't look. Keep looking for the J. I'm hitting Control. I just did it again to open and close that thing. I should be able to touch type and find it. Step 5. No, we already did step 5, right? No, this is step 5. Why did I see step 5 twice? I don't know. This one's easy. It's just another one of these. And I don't know why they do this, but... Oh, maybe it's because you can choose which ones you're going to sign and which ones you're not. So I'm hoping that their test vectors assume we're signing everything. They do. So those 3, and then there are 3 there. There aren't any that we wouldn't sign, right? Okay, yeah, we'll just assume they're signing them all. So it's just header name, but there's going to be a first. Do I already have a first flag? I do. First is true. If first is false, else we need to add a... See, what am I doing? I don't need to do this loop at all, do I? If I had a join that took a header, not a string, yeah. So I don't, so I'll just do it this way. Quick and dirty. Like that. That should do it. And then we'll do the hash in a second. We'll check this step. Oh, they wanted semicolons, not commas. Semicolons. There we go. All right. Okay, it thinks that there's a diff because of that new line, but the real difference here is that we just don't have the hash at the end. So let's add the hash. That's just the body, the digest of SHA-256 of the body. We can do that. We just need to import the hash function library that we made yesterday. So that's hash. And then let's see, update CMake here. Right, so include, I need the actual SHA-2 HPP, and I want to use the template as well that does the hex encoding. Templates. Go away. Right, so this is step 6, right? Step 6, hash digest of the body. Right, so this should be ridiculously easy. It's just canonical request, shift out, hash, string to string, right? Of using the SHA-256, and then the string to hash is the request body. like that. And although this says to add a new line, probably, right? Oh, it doesn't in a new line. Okay, then. Also, everything else ends in a new line, except for the last thing. Okay. For some reason, I thought it would end in a new line, and we would have to add a new line, but I guess I was wrong. Let's see if I got the hash stuff right. Ooh. It actually is starting to pass some of our test vectors. It's only failing the ones now that have... Oh, this one looks complicated. Oh, it had... Which one was this? Multi-line. That was a weird looking one, so I'll have to look at that next time, I think. Yeah, we're not collapsing the extra spaces for sure. And this I needed to look at with the percent encoding, why that isn't working. Again, with the percent encoding. And this is with the path normalization. That's not happening like it should. Actually, I have a theory on why it might be failing, but I need to do some research later and find out why. What's wrong here? Huh. It's an empty string path. That shouldn't have happened. Anyway, all of the header parts are matching now, which is good. So really, we're only having trouble with the URI, right? And then some corner cases with multi-line and extra spaces. Okay, here's one where the hash didn't match. Why wouldn't the hash match here? Oh, this might be because the body has a carriage return in it. That might be. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So we'll have to take out. Well, no, when we put in carriage returns, we don't want to do that in the body because that'll change the digest of the body. Okay, well I can deal with that later. Let me make a note about that. So don't put CR in message bodies because read from test suite because this changes the body digest. All these other tests I think had empty bodies, so the digest happens to be the digest for empty string, which is E3, B0, etc., right? So I'm guessing the reason why these digest don't match is because of the carriage returns were added. Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'll wrap things up and I'll do that extra research that I have in my notes here to kind of get reoriented and plan set up to knock out the rest of this canonicalizing of requests. And then hopefully get through that in less than one stream so that I can finish up with making the string to sign and then making the authorization code. And once all this is working, I should be able to make a little test program that makes an API request and have it work. So we'll shoot for that goal for next time. So I'm going to wrap things up by seeking out someone to host. Let's see who's online now. Maybe we'll raid someone. I don't usually raid. I usually just /host. Well, thanks for watching, Remil. Hope you found it enjoyable. I know. We'll go raid Oh Bother. He's a very interesting guy because he's working on. I think he's still working on it. It's like a Twitch bot that drives a tank. Actually, let me go peek. I'm gonna go peek at his stream and see what he's doing. Ooh. He's reverse engineering an industrial joystick. Okay, so sometimes he's doing hardware stuff, other times he's doing software, but he's a fun guy to watch. So here I'll give you the link and we'll go raid him. We're gonna raid Obother, so just give him a warm welcome. Hopefully you'll have a good time watching his stream. I'll see you guys next time.